Deep beneath the ground, in a chamber carved by unseen hands, life begins. A single egg, smaller than a grain of sand, rests among thousands, fragile, motionless, and full of promise. From it, a larva emerges, blind, helpless, soft as morning dew. And yet, before it can even move, it is surrounded. Dozens of worker ants, her older sisters, rush to feed her, clean her, protect her. There is no selfishness here, no question of, who will help me? Only one silent vow that echoes through the tunnels. We are one. Every movement in that colony is an act of purpose. Every heartbeat serves the whole. From birth, each ant is taught one truth. Life is not about what you get. It's about what you give. And isn't that where humanity has lost its way? We are born with potential, but forget that purpose is found in contribution. The ant doesn't wake up asking, "What's in it for me?" It simply asks, "What needs to be done?" The colony grows stronger because every life inside it is devoted to the same dream, one goal, one purpose, one heartbeat. And if we, humanity, could learn to live like that, our world would become unstoppable. The ant colony. It's not chaos. It's a masterpiece. A living city, built grain by grain, deep under our world. Tunnels twist like veins, carrying food, air, and life. Every chamber serves a meaning. Nurseries for the young, vaults for food, quarters for the queen. Every part of it, designed with precision, efficiency, and beauty. Yet no one leads with a crown or title. There are no speeches, no orders barked. Every ant knows her role, and she plays it with pride. Some dig, some gather, some defend, some care for the queen, the heart of the colony, and together they create what no one could build alone. Imagine if humanity worked like that. Imagine cities run not by competition, but by cooperation. Imagine families built not on ego, but on purpose. Imagine nations where success was shared and service was strength. The ant doesn't waste time comparing. It doesn't stop working because another ant has more. It doesn't quit because the task is hard. It just moves. It just builds. It just believes that what it's doing matters. That's how civilizations rise. Not by the greatness of one, but by the unity of many. What makes an ant lift a grain of sand 100 times its weight? What makes her march for miles under a burning sun without rest or recognition? Purpose? She doesn't do it because she has to. She does it because it matters. Every tunnel she digs, every seed she carries, every crumb she moves, it all counts because for her, purpose is not a slogan. It's survival. And maybe that's what we've forgotten. We spend our lives chasing meaning. In things, in titles, in applause. But perhaps meaning isn't found. Perhaps, like the ant, it's chosen. Purpose is not about the size of your stage. It's about the sincerity of your service. The ant doesn't need to be seen to know it's significant. It doesn't need to be praised to know it's powerful, because its strength is not in recognition. It's in responsibility. True purpose begins when you stop asking, "What can I gain?" and start asking, "What can I give?" That's when you discover who you truly are. But life isn't always peaceful. Even in the underground cities of the ants, storms come, the rain falls, the soil floods, the tunnels collapse. Thousands may perish, but not one ant stops. When chaos hits, they rebuild, piece by piece, grain by grain. Together, they don't panic, they don't argue, they adapt. When the waters rise, they do something extraordinary. They lock their bodies together, forming living bridges, floating rafts. They become one living organism, united in survival. No ant left behind. And that's how they endure. through unity, through sacrifice, through faith in each other, because in their world, the fall of one is the fall of all, and the rise of one is the rise of all. That's how greatness is built. That's how humanity was meant to live. The ant doesn't see struggle as punishment. It sees it as progress. Every obstacle builds endurance. Every challenge teaches wisdom. Every storm strengthens the colony, and maybe that's the lesson we've missed. When life floods your plans, don't curse the rain. Build stronger tunnels, link arms, keep moving, because the storm was never sent to destroy you. It was sent to prepare you. Somewhere in the soil tonight, an ant carries a single grain of sand through a dark tunnel. She doesn't know if anyone sees her. She doesn't know if it matters. But one day, that grain will complete a bridge. That bridge will carry another to safety. And that is legacy. Because in the end, every small act builds something eternal. Dawn breaks over the earth. The rain has passed. The soil glistens like gold beneath the first light. And from the darkness of the tunnels, the ants emerge once again, tired, but undefeated, wounded, but unbroken. For them, every sunrise means one thing, another chance to rebuild. Because in their world, failure is not final. It's fuel. Somewhere in the colony, a single ant steps out. Small, determined, brave. She is a forager, a seeker of food, hope, and survival. Her mission: to find nourishment for thousands who depend on her. She carries no weapon, no map, no guarantee of return. Only instinct, only purpose. She walks into the world beyond the nest. A world that to her is massive. To us, it's a field. To her, it's a universe. Every blade of grass is a towering tree. Every pebble, a mountain. Every drop of dew, a lake. And yet she moves, step by step, because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to walk through it. Hours pass. The sun beats down. Predators lurk, spiders, birds, and lizards ready to strike. But the forager doesn't stop. She knows her life is small, but her purpose is great. Then she finds it. A seed, a crumb of bread, a treasure. It's too heavy for one. She tries, struggles, but it won't move. So what does she do? She doesn't give up. She doesn't waste time crying for help. She turns back, leaving behind a trail, invisible to the eye, but rich with scent. A message written in silence, a signal that says, I found something. Follow me. Soon, an army of ants follows her trail. Hundreds, then thousands. Together, they lift what one could not. Together, they bring home what was once impossible. That is the power of leadership. Not command, not control, but example. Leadership is walking the path first, even when no one is watching, even when the road is long and lonely. The ant doesn't lead by shouting. She leads by showing. And when others follow, miracles happen. You see, greatness often begins with a single step, a single act, a single grain. That small ant didn't know she would feed thousands. She only knew she had to move one thing forward. And that's how destiny works. You never see the full picture. You just move your grain. You build your bridge. You play your part. Because when small acts combine, empires rise. When ordinary souls unite, the impossible becomes inevitable. If humanity understood that truth, we'd spend less time competing and more time completing, less time tearing each other down, and more time lifting each other up, because one person with vision can light the path for millions without one. There's something the ants do that most humans never would. When they face a gap, a space too wide to cross, they don't stop. They don't wait for someone else to build a bridge. They become the bridge. They lock legs, bodies, and hearts together, creating a living road for others to cross. They sacrifice comfort so others can move forward. They carry the weight so others can rise. And isn't that the purest form of love? To stand firm while another climbs, to hold steady while others move ahead? The ants understand something humanity once did. That strength is not in standing alone, it's in standing together. When the floods rise, they cling to one another. When predators attack, they form walls of defense. When food is scarce, they share. They don't divide. They depend. And that's why they survive. Because unity is not a weakness. It's the strongest structure ever built. Every time the ants face destruction, they rebuild. Not because it's easy, but because giving up is not in their nature. They rebuild because the future deserves a chance. They rebuild because the next generation is waiting. They rebuild because purpose doesn't die. It multiplies. You and I, we face storms too. Dreams collapse, plans flood, relationships crumble. But like the ant, we have a choice. To stay buried in the mud of failure or to rise and rebuild. Every empire you see, every success story ever told, began with someone who refused to quit after the flood. The ant doesn't know the meaning of surrender. It only knows how to start again. And that's the secret of the strong. They rebuild, not because they're fearless, but because they're faithful to the dream, faithful to the purpose, faithful to the work. Somewhere deep beneath the earth, the queen rests, surrounded by workers who protect her with their lives. Every moment she lays eggs, thousands, ensuring the future continues. She never sees the surface, she never joins the hunt, but every life above depends on the quiet labor below. And that's a lesson for every leader, every parent, every dreamer. Your legacy isn't built by what you show the world. It's built by what you grow in silence. The ants don't build for today. They build for generations. Their tunnels, their chambers, their food stores, all designed to outlive them, because they understand something powerful. Legacy is not what you keep. It's what you leave behind. Every bridge they build today will carry the next generation tomorrow. Every tunnel they dig becomes the pathway for the young to follow. And when their time ends, another rises, guided by the trails they left behind. That is purpose passed forward. That is immortality through service. So, what if humanity lived this way? What if every action was a brick in someone else's foundation? What if every dream wasn't for one, but for all? The ant doesn't live for applause. It lives for the colony, and that's why it thrives. Because in unity, there is no weakness. In service, there is no smallness. In purpose, there is no end. The ant teaches us that the true measure of greatness is not how high you climb, but how many you lift as you rise. Every colony has a cycle, a beginning, a rise, and eventually an end. But in nature, endings are never final. They are seeds, the silent beginnings of something new. When a colony grows too large, one queen takes flight. She leaves behind everything, the safety, the tunnels, the warmth of her world. She flies into the unknown, carried only by instinct and destiny. The winds toss her. The rain beats against her wings. Predators circle, and yet she keeps flying, because purpose doesn't retreat when the journey gets hard. At last, she lands on new ground, alone, exhausted, but alive. She digs into the soil and begins again. One chamber, one egg, one dream, and from her courage, a new empire will rise. This is legacy, not wealth, not fame, but continuation. We often believe legacy is something we build for ourselves, a name, a title, a monument. But the ant teaches us that legacy isn't what you own. It's what you pass on. Legacy is the bridge you build for someone else to cross. It's the trail you leave for others to follow. It's the courage to begin, so others can continue. When that new queen rises from the soil, she carries the lessons of every ant before her, the discipline, the unity, the purpose, all flowing through her like a sacred inheritance. And in that moment, the story of her colony never truly ends. It lives on through her. So let me ask you, what will live on through you? What story will rise from the soil of your struggle? When you're gone, will the world still walk the trails you left behind? Because legacy isn't about how long you live. It's about how deeply you touch life while you're here. The ant, tiny, silent, unseen, lives closer to the truth than we do. They live without greed. They work without praise. They build without rest. They die without regret. And through their labor, the earth continues to thrive beneath their feet. While we, the so-called wise ones, struggle to live in peace, the ant, with no crown, no flag, no religion, has mastered cooperation, discipline, and purpose. Think about it. They don't argue over color. They don't divide by territory. They don't hoard more than they need. They don't destroy their world to feel powerful. They simply live with order, purpose, and unity. If ants can build empires beneath the dirt, if they can cooperate without ego, if they can rebuild after every storm, then what excuse do we have? They carry 10 times their weight, yet some of us crumble under opinions. They work without recognition, yet we demand applause for effort. They build with unity, while we destroy with pride. Maybe it's not the ant that is small. Maybe it's us. Every ant knows something we've forgotten, that life is not about being noticed. It's about making a difference. The ant doesn't seek to be seen. It seeks to serve. And in that service, it becomes eternal. Every grain it carries, every bridge it builds, every life it saves, creates a world that thrives long after it's gone. What if we lived like that? What if every person saw themselves as part of something greater? What if we carried our grains, our dreams, our duties, not for glory, but for good? Imagine a world where people worked with the unity of a colony, where kindness was instinct, where purpose was oxygen, where service was sacred. That world isn't a fantasy. It's possible because it already exists beneath your feet. The ants have been living this way for millions of years. They've survived every storm, every predator, every change of time, and they've done it together. Humanity. It's time we learned from them. There's a saying, "Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise." Thousands of years later, the wisdom still stands, because within the ant's tiny body lies the blueprint of greatness, the secret to strength, the spirit of resilience. They teach us that no act is too small when done with purpose, that no dream is too big when shared in unity, that no storm is too strong when faced together. They teach us that purpose outlasts pain, that unity outlives fear, that legacy outshines death. From the soil beneath our feet rise lessons that could heal our world, lessons that could rebuild our faith, our families, our nations, lessons that could remind us that we were never meant to walk alone. We were meant to be like the ants, builders of hope, carriers of purpose, soldiers of unity. So, the next time you see an ant, don't step over it without thought. Watch it, learn from it, remember it, because within that tiny creature lives the strength of 1,000 hearts, the discipline of a warrior, the patience of a builder, and the faith of a dreamer. It may not roar like a lion, but it endures longer. It may not soar like an eagle, but it builds empires that last for generations. It may not have a voice, but its silence speaks louder than our noise. The ant reminds us that greatness isn't measured by how much you have, but by how much you give. That success isn't how high you climb, but how deep you build. And that legacy isn't what you keep, but what you leave behind. We are all builders. We are all dreamers. We are all ants in the grand colony of life, each carrying one grain of hope toward the mountain of tomorrow. So, keep building, keep believing, keep moving, one grain at a time.